Hi, I'm Connie Whitman, your host, and you're listening to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.net. Just so glad that you're with me this week. So my motivational quote today, this is kind of cool. It's by the Greek god Apollo, and he says, I guess darkness serves a purpose to show us that there is redemption through chaos. I believe in that. I think that's the basis of Greek mythology. Now, do you have a vivid imagination, or maybe you need to read imaginative novels that can help you challenge, your status quo life? And you know what? I know I that is a challenge for me. I do not have a vivid imagination. So isn't it fun to immerse yourself into a novel where magic, mysticism, romance, and today's topic, a Greek god, are all at your fingertips, and all you have to do is read the pages set before you? Well, today my guest, she has done that for us. Her name is Cate Montana, and she shares her new book called Apollo and Me. Now, Cate's book combines mysticism and science, magic and myth, passion and romance. Now, Apollo and Me is a fast-paced, cross-time teaching tale that explodes stale beliefs surrounding the relationship between the gods and man and women, sexuality and spirituality, and ultimately the material illusion of the world itself. Now, here's some cool fun facts about my guest Cate and her background. In 1977, she TV production editor engineer. Cate broke the glass ceiling in network sports television. You go, girl. Getting hired by ABC Sports as the first woman to work Monday Night Football. A successful career as one of the guys in the network sports television for ABC, NBC, CBS, and ESPN. Eventually segued into a career in print journalism. She writes for Psychology Today, the UK publication, What Doctors Don't Tell You, and blogs for the Huffington Post. Whew! So with that, please help me welcome my amazing, awesome guest, Cate Montana. So Cate, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Aloha, Connie.
Aloha. So Cate is in Hawaii. You can see her lovely background. I told her, I think next time I'm going to fly out there so we can record the show on her beautiful balcony there with the amazing foliage behind. It's lovely.
Yeah, I'm on Maui. Big surprise. Talk about chaos. When I wrote this book, Apollo and Me, well, the book itself came out of nowhere, left field. I'll tell you that story in a little while. Yes. But it's been a real ride because I've been a nonfiction author and a reporter all of my life, and to all of a sudden turn around and go from writing books about consciousness, quantum physics, spirituality, ego evolution, and then all of a sudden write, I will admit it, a romance novel that incorporates actually quantum physics and spirituality and psychology a little bit, but it's a rockin' stonkin' romance love affair between an older woman and a gorgeous Greek god. And
I love the name Apollo and Me. Was the book's heroine based on you?
Yes, I confess.
I love it. No, and I love it.
I always had a thing about Greek mythology and the Greek gods when I was younger. I ended up actually with a major in college with archaeology and English. And Greece was the first place I ever traveled when I was 19. So get this, Connie. I'm on assignment writing a book for Simon & Schuster imprint called The E Word, Ego, Enlightenment, and Other Essentials. Very left brain, very linear. I get to Greece. I go back to visit Delphi because I've longed to go there. I do the tourist thing the first day in the temples. The next day, I hike up Mount Parnassus, and I'm way up above the temple complex. It's April in Greece. I'm in Europe. I'm writing a book for Simon & Schuster. I'm awesome. I feel pumped. This is, yeah! And I swear to God, I had a vision. I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden in my mind, I just see this beautiful man bound over the rocks towards me, comes and sits down right next to me. He had amazing copper-colored eyes. And he turns and looks at me, and he says, Hi, I'm Apollo. I have things to tell humanity. Let's talk. And then poof.
Okay, I gotta ask. Did you poop your pants?
I was just like, what happened?
Very cool.
Very cool. So I'm like, oh my God. Well, I finally recovered my wits, and, well, that blew my hike to hell. So I just went right back down the mountain, and I went back to my room, and I pulled out my computer, and I just started writing about the encounter. And it was like, what happened? And I know that when I write, Connie, I kind of channel information, because I can always tell when something comes in unexpected and I didn't even know I knew that, or, I'm going this way and all of a sudden the book takes me this way. I know it's not me, so I kind of rely on that. So I literally sat down at my computer, and it's just like, and I tuned into those copper-colored eyes and the energy of that being, and I was just like, okay, what do you have to say? What do you have to tell humanity? And this story just came out.
So you literally, when you have this vision, right, and which is, by the way, oh my God, every woman is saying, "Whoo, I wish that was me."
I know,
I know, right? The heart of flutter. But so after that encounter, you go back down the mountain. Did you, as you were walking, percolating, oh, I could do this, I could do that, or truly no thought, sit down, and bam, what should I be writing about? Is how this whole thing started.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. That's awesome.
There was no, oh man, I think I'll make a book out of this. No, it was just like, what the hell happened?
Right.
And what do I do? And whoa. So anyway, so I spent a couple of days doing that. And then I had to switch mental gears, because I was living on the island of Paros for 3 months, finishing on assignment to finish that first book, The E Word.
Sure.
And so I had to switch back into, let's crank out a book about ego psychology and evolution, which was great. I loved it, and I'm passionate about the subject. But I was obsessed with Apollo. So 3 days, literally, Connie, after I got through cranking out a whole book, I turned around and started writing Apollo and Me, because I just had to know where the story was going to go.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was all about, basically, Apollo's message is that he is here, he is here again, through me apparently, to help reawaken the goddess at this time of times when, I was raised in the 50s, 60s. So when I came out of the chute, I had to put on my big girl pants and become a guy and work in the guy's world. The men had created the economic system, the business system, the political system, the educational system. So I had to work in the man's world. And to do that, I had to be a guy. I had to think like a guy, act like a guy, be aggressive like a guy. Great, fine. Where is the feminine in that? I realized that I had confused completely equality with sameness. I'm not the same as a man, but then I ended up making myself the same as a guy.
To survive.
Tough drinking, potty mouth, the whole 9 yards. To survive, exactly. So the beauty of this is that I learned, like all the generations of women our age and then younger,
sure,
we've learned the masculine world, but we've lost track of what the feminine actually is. And I think the garbage truck is about to go by, so excuse me. That's
okay. That's okay. Hello, garbage men.
So I've had to relearn and investigate what is the feminine dynamic in me. For the longest time, I just confused it with, frills and lace and pink and hysteria, like the patriarchy has painted us. No offense, guys. And it's like, and I bought into it, and it's like, but through writing Apollo and Me, I got to access this wild, I love that you used that quote, chaotic place inside me that is unfettered, unlimited.
Sure.
That's where creation, the cosmos, was birthed from chaos. Chaos isn't indiscriminate insanity like we've been taught to think it is. Again, the feminine has been tarred with this really nasty brush. Chaos just has such an enormous, subtle organization to it that it looks like chaos to a limited, structured human being. So let's get over this, chaos bad and structure good. We need both to be able to function in this world.
Yeah. And then I want to go back to the whole creative thing. So for my first question, I guess, based on everything you just shared with us, why do you think, two things, why do you think Apollo, with this vision, number one, came to you? And do you think it's because you needed to be in touch with your feminine self so that even if you didn't know it, maybe subconsciously you did know it, and that's why this divine intervention was allowed to happen? Like, why you? I guess that's why you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, number one, you're right. I am the audience for this book. To know more about my feminine nature, to be more impassioned and enlivened with life, and to break through what I've come to realize is this tremendous programming of feminine shame that we've had laid upon us. You know, the sins of the fathers and the mothers. Well, the whole theory of the science of epigenetics has taught us that every experience that we have, especially an experience that has an highly traumatic emotional component to it, like a rape, is imprinted in our DNA. And then we pass that experience and that emotion onto our children and their children and their children. So if you look at the epigenetic foundation of every woman today, and then you wonder why we're depressed, suicidal, alcoholic, and hooked on Prozac and every other drug in the world, and feel lost and have this, I don't know about you, a tremendous level of self-insecurity and self-loathing, really, that it didn't matter how many books I read, how many degrees I got, how much money I made, how many seminars I gave or took, there was still this layer of really not liking myself and really somehow shame deep down inside. And Apollo woke me up to all that. Writing this book woke me up to that and moved me through it, made me look at it. You know, I've done all of I've been in the spirituality game for 35 years. I've done the pillow pounding and the primal screaming. I'd looked into the abyss of the feminine and the feminine wound, and there is a masculine wound as well. And, wept and screamed and thought walked away and gone, well, dealt with that.
Not. Right, not. So this, I am fascinated on this journey, this recent journey for you, again, because you were so accomplished in sports and all the things that are deemed more masculine. Couple of things you said, the DNA, more and more research is being done on, just to ground this for folks, more and more research is being done that we are transmitting beliefs, emotions from generations gone by. Exactly what you said. It's coming through our chemical, our cellular level. And research has been done with mice to prove all of this. So that, and it was the other thing you said is, and you said, Connie, probably you the same, Cate, based on what you're describing, and I'm sure women and men to some extent too. I remember I was asked to speak in India, and so I was telling I went for my annual physical, and I was telling my doctor, who I love, she delivered my kids, I mean, she's amazing. And I said, do I need shots? Like, that's why I was speaking to her. And she looked and she goes, why are you so hesitant? And I go, why me? Like, what have I got to say? This self, put self down. And I wasn't. I didn't mean to. And she looked at me and she's, you're cracking me up. She was asked, now she is one of the renowned OBGYNs in New Jersey. Sits on boards, runs everything. They go to her for protocols. She's brilliant, okay? She was asked to do something in New York on a board to speak to a board of, doctors, highfalutin doctors. And she said to me the whole way up, Con, she says, I'm driving and I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say? They're going to think I'm an idiot. What if they think I'm a fraud? And I looked at her and I go, you're brilliant. And she said, now isn't that funny that you can think that clearly? I'm telling you, that whole way up, she goes, I thought I was going to throw up. She said, and she called it the imposter syndrome. And I said, we all do it, no matter how accomplished we are. And I'm sure men do this to some extent as well. We feel I'm not good enough. They're going to see through me. What if? And this probably has happened to you over the years, Cate, with being engulfed in the men's world, right?
Very much so. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And God bless men. They've got a lot of faults, just like women have a lot of stuff going on. But, lack of self-confidence is, yes, of course, everybody has insecurity to some level. But I think we're really dealing with a genetic gender issue. You know, the men just have self-confidence because they're guys. That's why they have self-confidence.
It's true. It is. There's an element of, yeah. Yeah.
If there's male entitlement, it's that level of self-confidence that they don't even think to question themselves if they're and feel like an imposter because they're a guy. They're not wired that way.
Nope.
God bless them. And go ahead.
I was going to say we need to think more like them and learn from them instead of those men. What can we learn? And I think men are starting to learn from women on how to coach and mentor and lead, right? I think there's a shift with that going on. But I think, I am woman, hear me roar. We need to park that to some extent and listen and learn from the guys because they've been doing this a long time and they've been doing it well a long time. Go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. We can only do that to a certain extent, however, to, emulate the guys and try to think like the guys. What we have to do, Connie, is to dive deep into our emotions. We have to peer into the abyss of the chaos and the wildness and the hurt within us and not just pay lip service to it. And I don't mean that everybody's got to go to a shrink, for God's sakes, but it's like there's this life force in us that women are the creators. And it's like this has got to be able to flow. And the only way we can learn to trust and not feel like as an imposter is not like because we're acting like a guy and we're thinking like a guy and we're, making plans like a guy and we're structured like a guy. No wonder we feel like an imposter because we're not bringing up the compassion, the inclusivity, the heart, the intuition, the sensitivity that allows us to feel when a situation is right and when it's not. That immense power of the feminine, we've put it in a closet. That's why we feel like frickin' imposters. Is because we're not our full self.
It's true.
So to evoke the goddess and the feminine within us takes a hell of a lot more than just going out and putting on a pretty dress and holding hands in the moonlight and singing Kumbaya. There's got to be some real work involved and some real passion to evoke your frickin' passion.
Absolutely. So tell me this: what were some of Apollo's messages? Because he came to you with, all right, here, you need to listen. I got things to tell you. Humanity needs me, or needs the messages, from beyond, so to speak. So what were some of his messages to you?
It's pretty. Sometimes just truth is truth, and it just comes yet from one more source. God is within us. That men and women are equal. Interestingly enough, he had priestesses in his temples, not priests. All the masculine gods of the pantheon, Olympian pantheon, had priests in their temples. The women gods, Athena and all them, had priestesses. Apollo was the only male god that had women in his, as his apostles, if you will, because he wanted to keep the presence of the goddess alive in people's minds until the coming of the Christos phase of humanity, when the Christ consciousness would awaken, that would have us stop projecting divinity out there somewhere and begin to recognize it within us as well. In that recognition of the divinity within mankind and womankind, then the equality of men and women. And so the Pythia, which was the prophetess at Delphi, who, my God, her wisdom guided the Western world for over 1,000 years, was a married woman. And he said it was so important to keep that gateway to the goddess alive until that coming of the recognition of the divinity within. And his part of the book is like this actual duplicitous plot on the name of a god that will go unnamed because I would ruin a lot of the book if I named it, him, to keep humanity subject, to keep humanity divided, to keep men and women at each other's throats and in conflict, and especially to keep women subservient, and so that the aliveness of life just would escape us, and that we would just be subservient and continue to worship outside forces and give them power. And so this God is the one who actually railroaded and ended up betraying Jesus Christ and having him crucified, so that his real mission, aside from showing the divinity within man, was the equality of man and woman, because Jesus was married to Mary Magdalene. That's one thing Apollo told me. And that it had to be kept secret because of the headship of the man thing. If he had married her, automatically, no matter what he did, he was going to raise her up to be the Apostola Apostolorum, the apostle of his apostles, because she's the only one that got it. She was the only one on his level. And the whole gig that they were going to do was to travel and show the divinity of man and woman as equals in the public. That was his original. I didn't know Jesus was a feminist, basically Apollo showed me that. But that got railroaded through this plot, when Jesus was crucified. And then instead of going into the blossoming of our divinity and the equality of man and women, we became sexually shamed and repressed. And it was all the bad frickin' women and everybody else's fault. And then the fall of woman, and then we went into the Dark Ages instead of into an Enlightenment.
It's so fascinating. Do you think that what is happening in our world today is one of the reasons why this divine intervention crashed into you, so to speak? Just everything as you were describing it, right, of the past. We're facing that today in the present, right, Cate, exponentially. Was that part of Apollo's message to you of, hey man, we need to take a step back, let me educate you? Was that part of it, you think?
Very much so. Timing is everything, Connie.
I agree.
Yeah, and so very much so, and it became apparent in my dealings with this entity, or whatever it is, that I had a past life as a Delphic priestess. It was absolutely clear. So I guess this entity and I go way back. And that was something that he said. But, you get into this area, I never saw him again. It was all just an energetic transmission and impressions. And, where did that idea come from? I don't know, Connie. But, I couldn't have made this up if I'd tried. It had...
The creativity of it, the imagination of it is mind-blowing. Now, okay, so let me ask you this too. Do you think that the divine intervention of, again, whatever this being was, the telepathy, and how you sat and just start typing away and the story unfolded, do you think that was you or the divine, whatever, entity guiding you to make a fun book? Because it's a fun book, right? With, like you said, this cloak and dagger and this there's a beautiful story, a cool story behind what we're, the divine, the feminine way and all the things we're talking about. Do you think that was more you or more him to create this very cool story? What do you think?
I think it was pretty much equal measure of both.
Cool.
I mean, the protagonist, Catherine, I confess, I'm her, fundamentally. Her issues, her sexual shame, her insecurity, her self-doubt, is all mine. And her age issues, she's 60. And so this gorgeous God shows up in her life. He looks 35. Okay, picture Sam Heughan, who's, Jamie in The Outlander. I mean, that's the closest human I know to say this is what this dude looked like.
Yes.
And but Catherine has a lot of issues. Oh my God, I'm 60. He's like 35. Oh my God. Never mind, he's a million years older than a million years old.
Of course.
Millions of years old. He's an archetype. But the issues that we deal with as women, man, that's me channeling me. That's me channeling womanhood. And so much of what came through in the book was me addressing all of my crap and having this stalwart, gorgeous being, male, accept me and love me just as I am and mirror back to me, you're perfect as you are. You're a woman. You have all of this in you that you've never explored. Come. Let me stand beside you and hold space for you to explore it. Because that's what the masculine is for. It's the protector. It's the ground. It's the lightning rod for the lightning, which is woman. No wonder women are so freaking scary to guys. We bust the structure. I mean, the masculine is linear, structured, left brain. That's its modus operandi. And the wildness of the feminine and the right brain and our multifacetedness and our multidimensionality and our wildness scares the shit out of them.
Absolutely. The other thing I'm giggling about, and I said this before we started recording. First of all, it is, and I have the book right here, everybody. This is what it looks like. And I love, by the way, I love the cover. Is that you?
No.
Oh, good.
I wish it was.
Oh, just I love the whole thing is just, it's like, oh, open me, you need to read me. But the book, and I said this to Kate before we started recording, it's a great summer novel to read. And I'm hoping now, this is so much better written. Let me start by saying that 50 Shades of Grey, okay? A few years ago, that was the book to read. Now, because I'm amongst people all the time, everybody was reading it. So that summer, I said to my husband, I gotta read this book. And he's like, really? And I'm like, not that I had an interest in it per se, but I'm like, I gotta read it. Everybody's reading it. You want to sound semi-literate, right? To talk about what other people are talking about. So I read it. It was so poorly written, in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion. But it was very much interesting for me, but to the point where I didn't know what some things meant. I'm innocent in some ways. So I had it on my iPad. I was looking what words meant. Like I thought I knew, but I'm looking them up. And I was reading passages to my husband going, you got to hear this. This is hysterical, as I'm reading it. But I'll tell you, that was a movement, and not only did women read it, men read it. So what I'm trying to say here is this is a great summer read for women, absolutely. Yes, it's a romance novel, but I do think men can learn from this book as well, right? To fully understand, but not only to understand their wives, but if they have daughters, to understand and how perhaps they can help empower this next generation of women, that it's not about burning the bra, right? And hear me, I am woman. That's not what this is about. And empower them to live into who they should be, not who society, we frame it out, women should act this way, put the pretty dresses on, all of that. So I'm hoping, Kate, that there's a movement like that novel several years ago, so that men and women alike read it, because I think it's needed. I think it's needed today, but I think it's needed by both men and women. So yeah, it's a romance novel, but there's a lot going on in there, right?
Yeah, it's an incredibly literate, if I do say so myself.
It is,
book.
Absolutely.
And you are so right. We have to have this. This is the conversation we have to have. Is because, with the Me Too movement and everything that's going on, when I was editing this book, when I made the choice, when I moved to Maui and I was in the last gasp of editing, it was when the whole Christine Blasey Ford, Brett Kavanaugh hearings were going on. And Connie, I kid you not, I just the rage that came up in me, yet again, of an intelligent, sensitive woman being just ignored and marginalized, and the elevation of such ignorant masculinity over that, and the feminine again overshadowed. The rage that went through me and the rage that I felt in every woman that I came in contact with, that, I'm not saying we have to become rage maniacs. It's not that. That's the indicator. That's the red flag going, there's something so deep inside us that has to come out and be seen. The feminine has to be acknowledged. Yeah. And what that is, we do not know. I was focused on becoming enlightened and getting out of here. That was the first 35 years of my spiritual journey. Now I'm like, what the hell is a woman? Who is she? Who am I? What do I embody? Let me reveal all of me so that I can be free to be all of me. What is that? So we have to bring this question of what is the feminine and start to acknowledge who and what that is, so that we can go, wow. Guys can go, wow, that's way different from me. I've always known that. Scares the crap out of me. But, I acknowledge you as my equal in your differences and what you bring to the table in your complementarity. Sure. And together we can dance and fly and have an amazing creation on this planet.
That's it.
Together in art, we're screwed.
But I think that's part of our problem today is there's this separation. There's a separation everywhere you turn. And I'm talking the United States, but I'm sure the same kind of nonsense is going on all over the world. And that if we can join forces in a healthy, respectful, complementary, I like that word that you use, complementary way, Kate. I think we could do so much more and create so much better, good stuff. That was literally bad vocabulary, but you know what I'm saying, that I think that we can create amazing magic, and we're so afraid. Fear is really a debilitating emotion, and we need to get past the ego, your other book that you had mentioned earlier, and really focus on what magic we can make. I have to ask you one silly question, but I have to ask, because the other thing too is I think this should be made into a movie. Just saying. So anybody out there who does movies, read the book. If it was made, who would be Apollo? Would it be Jamie from the Outlander? I don't know his real name. Oh my God, he's really cute. I agree with you, and I see why she went back in time. Totally. Who would play you? And again, because you admitted that you were the heroine, who would be you, Kate?
Cate Blanchett.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, she's got the blonde hair and the same name but it's the fact that she's the right age group, and she's so real, and yet she's got this strength to her, and yet she can also play the insecurity card. And I think she would just be a brilliant actress to bring forth both our fragility and our strength, and our towering. There's no word for that ephemeral, powerful presence of the goddess. When it is evoked and it roars through you, oh my God, she's par excellence the actress that can just set fire to the world with her eyes. So
love it. It's a great compliment to her, but what a great way to look at it. All right, so now my last question, because we're out of time, but I got to ask it. People who are thinking about becoming novelists or writing, now you've written, like you said, all of your career has been very more factual, scientific, right? Very, very left brain. What would you say to give someone who's thinking about becoming a writer on either side, either documentationally, that kind of thing, or this very fabricated story like Apollo and Me? Because that was a switch for you.
Yeah. So was the question how to become a writer, or how to switch from being nonfiction to a fiction novelist?
I think how to become a writer, period.
Right. It's the only way to do it. I don't remember. I think it was Ernest Hemingway or maybe Mark Twain who said, the seat of the pants to the seat of the chair.
And
that's
just
it.
Write. And just write.
And just write. And then start submitting, and know that it's going to be crap for the first whatever. For me, the first 25 years. But don't be afraid to start blogging, submit, become a guest blogger, whatever little venue you can do to get out there. There's plenty of freelance places online that have beginning writing jobs. If you're drawn to the nonfiction and the journalistic, there's tons of work online. I mean, the online world is begging for content.
Really?
And the same thing with fiction. Oh, absolutely. It's huge. Now, you're not going to get paid, but you are going to learn. And you're going to get feedback, you're going to get readers, you're going to get experience, and you're going to build a curriculum vitae. And you're going to get experience, because the seat of the pants to the seat of the chair. I mean, I've been writing ever since 1986, and I write every day. Well, it's my business. But did you know that 5% of writers make their living writing?
Is that true?
I don't know. That's the statistic.
So what do they do to make a living?
Something else. And then write on the side.
That's interesting. That you do this full time, because you write for Huffington, you write for a whole bunch of
I have a gig on the side. I'm an editor, and I'm also a book coach. I'm a writing coach. So, you could say, well, are you making your job living? No, but I'm in the same genre. I would love I know. I love coaching new writers. That has turned out to be a really. I've started a publishing company with the woman, my partner, Betsy Chassey, my business partner. She was the one of the creators of the indie hit What the Bleep Do We Know? That came out in 2004. Anyway, she's an author and a huge filmmaker, and we started a publishing company, Rampant Feline Media, and we do collaborative books. And I've coached like about 40 men and women so far, and I've discovered a real passion for helping people do that.
That's awesome. But all your experience, like you said, and if people are hungry to learn this, this is your passion. Let's face it. So it's exciting to teach people how to do what you do, and give honest feedback. Go ahead.
One thing I'd like to end up with is making the switch to nonfiction to fiction. I'm so excited because we're all about story. Everybody has a story. Every living, breathing human being has story in them. And this is what engages us. This is what lights us up. And this is how we really communicate. And I've just looked at all my nonfiction books. Yeah, they're fine. And it's like, well, let me tell you how it is. And it's like, so automatically the reader on the other end has this ego barricade. Yeah, okay, prove it to me. Yeah, okay, well, I'm not so sure about that. So, I'll pick that apart when I have time. Who does that with a rocking, good, stonking novel? Nobody. And you just suck the information in.
It's true.
It's beautiful. Plus, there are studies that show that reading literary fiction for 6 minutes reduces stress in the body by 68%, better than taking a walk.
And okay, it goes back to what I was saying before. I don't think I have a vivid imagination. Maybe I do. I don't think I do. But when I read a novel like yours, and I can picture exactly what the book, like what you're saying, the descriptions, I can visualize it. I put myself there. And at the end, I feel sad at the end of a book because I go, oh, my friends, I'm losing my friends now because the novel is over, right? You get so involved with the characters. So I love when I read. And the other thing you said is how we communicate is through stories. Think about during the dinosaur days, they had the calligraphy, not calligraphy, they had the drawings on the caves. And even though they didn't have a vocabulary, they were able to share those stories, not only be afraid of the dinosaur, right, or the tiger, but stories of family and stories of how they embraced each other. We've been telling stories forever. So why wouldn't we be able to learn and experience through fictional stories? That just made so much sense to me, what you just said.
Yep.
Kate, you're brilliant. See that? You're brilliant.
I'm brilliant.
You are. You're just brilliant. So everyone, we are out of time. I'm sorry because Kate, I just love our conversation. She's silly and real and fun, and the book is amazing. Again, a great summer read, Apollo and Me. Go buy it, read it. I hope.
Any bookstore.
Amazon, and I'm going to give them your website if they'd like to reach out to you because you have cool stuff on your website. I'll give them that in a minute. I hope I see these all over the beach this summer. I'm going to be watching. What?
Connie, thank you so much. This has been a blast.
Awesome chatting with you. Love the book. Guys, go out. Website, www.catemontana.com. Kate is C-A-T-E, and then Montana, M-O-N-T-A-N-A. I will post that on the Web Talk Radio website, so no worries there. If you need more Connie and you have questions that perhaps I can answer, please reach out to me directly at Connie at whitmanassociates.com. I do check the emails and respond personally. Kate, thanks again for a fun, awesome conversation, and thank you for allowing us to see that amazing and breathtaking backgrounds of the foliage behind you. Just lovely.
Thank you. Thank you, Connie. Aloha.
Aloha. I hope you guys will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together that change is easier than we think, like Kate taught us today. You know what? Quiet the mind. See what enters. Sit at the keyboard. Start writing if you want to be a writer. Change is easier than we think. I think we make it too complicated. So again, here is another great recommendation from my wonderful guest, Cate Montana. Thank you all for joining me. You've been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.net. I wish you all an inspired week. Please, maybe sit at your computer and start writing. Cool thought, right? Bye, everyone. Thanks, Kate.